Hello, hello, good morning. So, I am a little early, so we'll have a few minutes, see who turns up. Just going to get my notes up. Good morning. Hi guys. Yes, please talk to me. Let me know that you're here. Oh, morning Barry. Hello. I'm a little more nervous about this talk than the Lost Dog stuff that I did, because I feel like a lot of people were like, "Oh, we can't wait to watch this." I was thinking, "Oh my god." So we'll just have a minute or so. We'll see who else drops in, and then we will get going. Hello, hi Vic. Who else we got? Let's take a look. Hello, Faye. You're at work, sneakily watching this. Oh, thank you, Barry. We'll give it a go. Oh, that's okay, Hannah. I think it's recorded, isn't it? So you can catch it in a bit. Okay, guys. So I think it's 11 o'clock. I can hear the clock. Hi, Tracy. Can hear the clock out in the village chiming. So let's go. So I think the first thing to do here is to give a bit more of an introduction into myself in terms of in terms of sport and dog sport, right? So I would be potentially quite well known now for the lost dog tracking, and I do a lot of pet dog training and behaviour work and things like that. But actually, if I was honest, my absolute first love is obedience training. I absolutely love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I don't know if that's coming across. So when I decided to do 2 talks in this conference and I was thinking about what to do, I thought, well, I've done lost dog tracking twice now. Are people really going to want a third go at that? You know, so we want to mix it up a bit. So I got to thinking, well, okay, what else? Morning, Sarah. What else lights me up? What really, you know, is my thing? And I thought, well, it has to be obedience. If you asked anybody who knows with me or trains with me, I'm probably always trying to force you to do obedience. So I love it. So I thought, well, let's talk about that. And then I broke it down a little more into, you know, my favourite bits of it. And there are 2 sections of obedience that would be my absolute favourites. One is heel work and the other is send away. And so I felt that we could get a little bit more out of the send away one in terms of I'm going to try. So I'm going to do the first bit about teaching it and some different methods and things like that. And then I guess the second bit is about how we might use it in a little bit of real life. So let's see how we go on. As we're going, you know, please ask questions. I can see the little comments at the bottom of my screen. If I don't get to them straight away, I will go through them all at the end. We love a bit of interaction. So, I'm Claire, in case you didn't know. And so I run a business called North Canine Dog Training. And I've trained dogs professionally, 17 years, I think now. And I would have started off. Oh, hi everybody. There's loads of people talking to me. Hello. I would have started off originally doing, how can we politely say, like the church hall obedience. That's, and probably a lot of us did. And even at that point in time, all those years ago, I had a little collie and she was awesome and we loved it, right? So she was trained to a really high level, but I'm not going to say the problem with it wasn't a problem. She did not enjoy the competitive obedience atmosphere. So what I wanted to do was go into competitive obedience with that dog. what that dog wanted to do was fly, ball and agility. So there was definitely a conflict of interest there. So, of course, we went and did fly, ball and agility. And we did well. So I would train her in obedience at home, but she never wanted to go. She didn't like the stay. She just didn't like the environment. So that's fine. We don't do it. No problem. So sort of, I don't know how many years later, a few years later, whatever. So we've competed in fly, ball and agility with my lurcher and my collie. And then my dream always was to have a Malinois. That was, dream dog territory. And I was in a position at this point in time to get that dog. So I wanted to do working trials. So I went along and I got Havoc. So Havoc's my 7-year-old, or now 7-year-old male Malinois. He has got all the right components on paper to be a great working trials dog. The reality of Havoc is that Havoc, he's not a nose work kind of guy. Let's put it this way. So his drive is a little leaning towards enjoying protection work more than he would enjoy probably obedience as well, but more than the tracking. So he was the dog that brought me into, it was IPO and now it's IGP. So that's where we went, because I felt that, again, for him, that was the better place to put him to be able to use his natural drives and get the most out of it. So this is how we ended up where we are competing in IGP. So I guess then along came Blitz. She's 3, and she came to me to do IGP, and that's what we do, and she loves it. And I would have to say, I don't know, this sounds like really cheesy, probably. I think if I could have made a dog and put all the things I wanted in that dog, that would have been her. She is, all of my dogs are my dream dogs, but she is, like, for me, has so far is the ultimate. Hi, Kel. So you might think to yourself, why is that? And she's sweet and she's lovely and she's beautiful and all these things, but actually the dog's got as much motivation and drive for obedience as me, and I think that's probably what it is. So she allows and almost feeds my obsession with going out and training obedience, because not all dogs are like that. Some like it in really small parts, Havoc being one of them. Havoc will do a little bit of obedience, but he's not going to give you, he's going to give you what he has to to get to the next bit. Blitz would go out there with me, and if I wanted to, we could train obedience all day. So I'm trying to think that right. So Havoc is, we got our IPO 1 qualification, and unfortunately then he was injured and he had to retire from all heavy duty physical stuff, really, because it was quite a bad injury. So he's retired. I've got Blitz, and then last year Blitz and I, even with the pandemic, we were very, just the timing of the bits when we were allowed out, we managed to get our IGP 1, 2 and 3 all last year. So she's an IGP 3 dog. So, I mean, I would never sit here and say, I'm more qualified than anybody else to talk about teaching anything. I just like teaching send away, and I'm reasonably good at it, I guess. That's not to say that it's never let me down in competition, because it has. We did a send away in our IGP2 and Blitz ran to the dumbbell stand. So, there's things like that. Nothing's perfect, but we enjoy it, and that's the key. What I also wanted to say is, I guess, why do I love obedience? I think that's a key thing. What is it that I like about it? I think the detail. Now, this always comes as a surprise also to myself. If you know me as a person, I would not say I'm the most organised, detailed person, really. But yet with my obedience, it seems to be my area of OCD, and I am incredibly, I will break things down and spend time, and I love it, Teaching something like the retrieve's got about 26, 27 different parts, and the send away, all of these things, they've all got different bits. So I love that. I love thinking it like that jigsaw. So I teach this bit and this bit and this bit, and then poof, they all go together, and boom, I've got the exercises, and I love it. I also enjoy watching it. I love watching obedience. I love seeing a highly motivated dog. I love the heel work. I love all of it, the retrieving, the excitement in the dog and the buzz. And I also, I guess, from a personal point of view, I think that the obedience can tell you a lot about the relationship between the dog and the handler. Because I think where that relationship is good and that dog is giving its all, it looks, the word, hi Susie, hi Carol, the words that I've put in my notes is poetry. That's what I feel like. It's very fluid, it flows, it's like one thing instead of two things. I love it. So this particular exercise, and the different ways that we train it and things, I guess for me, the things I'm going to talk about today would be a mix just of different people over the years that I've trained with and learnt things from, and then put them together. And I think it's really important that there isn't, like with anything, I could not say this is how you train send away in all those 10 dogs, because it probably isn't. There's a different method, but I'm going to chat through just some of the different things that we've learned and how they might be useful. So we should cover the main 3 types of send away for competition first of all. So what we've got is, we've got the send away in competitive obedience. That's potentially the one that most people would know. So you would have markers out, and the aim is that the dog goes from heel and you send him out into the markers, and you have to drop him in a down in the markers within the space, right? That's one. We have a working trials send away. So working trials send aways are usually over a big distance, and they'll be to a marker that's pointed out on the day. So send to that big oak tree or whatever, right? Working trials send aways also have redirection, so send the dog there and stop it, and then send it left to that point and stop it, yeah? But they're over a big distance usually. And then we have the IGP send away, which is, again, from heel, and it is as straight a line, hopefully a straight line, or as straight as the dog is going to go, up the field with a down when the judge tells you at the end. So all of the components involve the dog running fast somewhere and then downing on the command, right? In terms of watching them, I just think that I think they're a cool thing. I think the speed, particularly, and this is only personal, so I'm not going to insult anybody, hopefully. I love the IGP send away, because it's that long straight run up that big distance. The dog can really, really get speed up and then in the down fast. So they're trying super hard to get in the down. So we have got lots of different methods for teaching it, okay? And the 3 main ones that I'm going to talk about, they're all obviously fairly similar. Going to something. So you could teach this on a nose target, you could teach it on a foot target. Obviously close up and then building distance. You could teach the dog to go around something. That's probably my method of choice. And there'll be different reasons for that, the way that I use it sort of later on as well. You could also have the dog going out to a toy. So a toy on the ground, hold the dog, send it. I'm potentially going to be slightly controversial. I would never teach really a send away out to food. I think it affects ultimately the down that you want at the end. It makes a little bit too much searching for my personal liking. I have used it, but I didn't really like the results that I got. So I prefer, the send away wants to be a bit more motivated for the down. So sometimes where you put the food out, the dog is sniffing about or he's eating the food or whatever like that. So that for me would be a bit of a no. If it was the only thing I had, obviously I'd use it, but I would like to think that we've got other things that we could use first. So, hi Ruby. So, nose or foot target. You've got to think we're breaking all this down into separate bits. So I would start off with that as I would anything else. So I'd either hold something in my hand and get the dog nose targeting, or I'd have something on the ground and get the dog foot targeting. It would all be very, very close up. the absolute key to teaching a fast send away is that the dog's motivation, what we see, is often slightly in the wrong place. So the dog's motivation should be to get out to the thing. So whether it's the toy, whether it's the foot target, whether it's the pole for the around, doesn't matter. Get there fast, because when I get the marker, then I'm going to get the reward. So what we sometimes see is that the dog goes out fairly slow, gets to the point, and then speeds up coming back for the reward. It's the wrong way around. Dog will come back fast for the reward anyway, but he should go out there much quicker. So he should be thinking like, I want to get there, I want to get there, I want to get there, because I want to hear the clicker or whatever. Then I'll speed back and get the ball. So I would start off all of these very, very close up. And I would want the dog super motivated. So I might, for example, I'm going to do my foot target or my nose target. If I'm doing a nose target, obviously it wants to be on something. So I'd start it in my hand, but then I might transfer it and to stick the target on a pole or something away from me. I don't really want the dog nose targeting the floor. So I would teach my foot target, my nose target up close, and then what I might do is I might have them a couple of feet away, make a little bit of holding the dog, tiny bit of frustration, let him go, let him run out, and then boom, the reward is going to come in at that point, yeah? So the motivation to get to the point and the reward for the thing should all be coming at the point, so at the pole or at the target mat or whatever, right? Super, super important. Going around something, again, I start off luring it. I have the pole or whatever's around me, plant pot, bucket, don't matter. I don't know why there'd be a bucket. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Something that the dog can go around. I was teaching this online and people were like grabbing ornaments off the fireplace and stuff. I was like, oh God, don't smash like the antique vase teaching a send away in your living room. So I'm going to have the dog close. I'm going to lure him around, I'm going to reward him. But I'm going to reward, so if here is the thing they're going around, as soon as they start to go around here, click, click, click. It's not click. It's not when they're here facing me on the way back. It's when they get to the thing, yeah? That's really key. Exactly the same with going out for a toy. I tease them up a bit, hold them in the collar, put the toy in front of them, go. They run out of pace and grab it, run out of pace and grab it. With the toy, I suppose, it's slightly different because it does become slightly less visible, a little bit quicker maybe. What the dog learns with the toy is I just keep running and it'll be there. That's generally what you want in send away. Just keep running until either the reward is there or the handler tells you to down, one or the other. So with that in mind, what we want to be thinking about is, I think in send away, what I see quite a lot is that people probably think more about the down element of it than they do about the dog going there. And for me, that's not the wrong way around, but what I want to do is totally separate them. So I'm teaching the send away in this session, and this is what I'm doing. And then in a different session, I'm teaching the down. Now, again, multiple reasons. I think the down as an emergency position and a social thing is so important. I think that, again, and I'll come on to kind of why a little bit later, but it's a massive part of everyday life, probably more so than running around a pole, I imagine. So I'm going to spend time on teaching that down and teaching it fast and quick and highly motivated and bang, 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 that the dog's doing it. Because the theory should be, if that's what I've got in my down, I can put it in my send away at any point, can't I? It isn't any different. So if my dog is running around outside in the park and I shout down and the dog lays down, very good. If my dog's running out to the pole in the send away and I down it, down, very good. It's the same thing. So I think we shouldn't get too hung up on the down in the send away, and particularly not too early on. If we do it too early on, what we see is the dog patterns that as the exercise. I go there and I lay down, so the dog's thinking all the time about the down, and it slows him down because he's predicting it. Oh, in 5 paces I've got to lay down. And that's not really the look that we would go for. So the down, yeah, a separate thing, and I've put in my notes it should be taught separately and well practiced in all social settings. It's a little bit dog dependent. So if the dog's going to be stressed out by laying down in the middle of the town, then of course not. But for me, I'm lucky with B. She's not bothered where she is. Doesn't matter what's happening. If I tell her to down, she'll down. But you have to... Yeah, that's right, Ruby. This is not a down like a settle or for an examination or any... This is a, I'm down. And if I was honest, my dog sometimes a little bit is vibrating because what she's waiting for is the ball. I did the down, it was fast, the ball is coming, oh my God, it's so exciting. So it's secure, she's not, but yeah. It should be an alert down. It should be a pow is the word I'm probably looking for. So how do we get it? That's the thing, isn't it? So as with all dog training, motivation is everything. So I teach the down, right? That's a standard, normal, relatively straightforward thing in most dogs. But then I need it to be fast. So again, when I'm teaching speed, I'm teaching it close to me normally. So I might move the dog around on my hand, down, good. There's a lot of you as a handler maybe goes into that. I mean, I'm in my upstairs office and there isn't a dog around and I'm jumping about the place because I think in my head I'm teaching the down. God. So there's a lot of handler input into getting it fast to be motivated because then the dog would mirror that. So I'm like, down. And my dog's like, yeah. So that, for a starter for 10, is relationship and makes it fun and makes it good. What you tend to see as well, actually, in a lot of these dogs is when they're not looking at you and you down them, they flip around and down. So they it's almost an in the air down. So they're looking at you because it's anticipation. You can, I guess, if you want. It slightly depends on the dog. You could... I probably do this a little bit when they're younger, so when they're first learning it, and I've done it a little bit closer up, and now I want to generalise it, but I don't want it to go wrong, I might use my long line, and I might take them and they're bimbling around on the long line, down, good, bosh, there's the ball, these kind of things. So that, I don't know, the two totally separate things though, in my opinion. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm just reading the comments as well. That's why I'm laughing. Yeah, we've got two totally separate things and then they come together. So think jigsaw. I feel like I'm going to, what's the word? Like copyright my jigsaw theory because I'm using it all the time at the moment. Think of the dog like a jigsaw. And then this is totally a sideline, but the other day I was teaching and I was teaching like in a family. So the little girl, well, she's not that little. She was training the dog and I was like, think of your dog like in bits like a jigsaw. And then she got sad. I don't want my dog to be in bits like a jigsaw. I was like, my God. So maybe I could phrase it differently sometimes. But you get the point. Teach this bit, teach that bit, put them together. However, don't put them together all that often. That is, really quite key. So if you're looking at this for competition, train the component parts and practice them often. And practice the dog running at speed. That's the key thing to the object. But don't put the two together all that often because then the dog starts to predict, this is the send away, there's a down at the end, there's a down at the end, right? And then what happens is, like I say, the dog is 10 feet away from where you want him, but he's slowed down because he's predicting the down. So don't put them in together all that often. What we tend to do, there's two things that we do like in the sport that I compete in. We do it occasionally in training. You've probably tested it before a trial, a couple of times maybe. I'm just seeing what's... Oh, thank you, Barry. Oh, no. Oh, no worries, but I'm glad that you enjoyed. So what we tend to do in our training would be that mostly we would send the dog and put big rewards in, right? Before a trial, you're gonna down the dog at least once and make sure it's working. And then when you go to a trial, it's often a thing that you would put in your warm-up. So we normally, at a trial, we have a practice the day before at the venue, everybody. So we go there and we practice, and the send away usually is something that you would put into the practice to make sure that the dog knows where it's heading, right? So hopefully that's a little bit of info. If anybody's got any questions on any component parts of teaching it that I could be more detailed in or whatever, please pop them in the comments. But I can't sort of stress enough really that for me the key things are the speed and the motivation. The send away should look flashy, for want of a better word. So I'm not sure like in the other two sports that I mentioned, but like in IGP, the send away with the down is worth 10 points. It's a massive exercise. So in each sport, each exercise is worth a set amount of points. So in IGP, that send away is worth 10 points. That's a huge chunk. So, and I know because I've lost all 10. When my dog ran to the dumbbell stand, as I said, my fault, I set her up badly. She went there because we do an around, and she thought that's what I would ask. So we lost all the points. But then also we've had all the 10 points as well. So, but it's a big thing. So getting it right and having a little bit of confidence that your dog enjoys the exercise and probably will go flying out and do a great send away should give you a bit of confidence going forward in competition as well. The points are never in the bag, but it would be nice to think to yourself, more likely than not, my dog's going to enjoy the exercise and it's going to go well. So I wanted to chat through a few bits about why might this be useful outside of a competitive environment. So we teach it for competition, you know, but I think both component parts have a use in everyday life. I could never... Right, I'll come back to that question, Gemma, in a second. Right, so yeah, all questions, my goodness. So we teach that exercise generally speaking for competition, but I do think it has a transferable use. I would not ever say that I don't use the down a lot in a social setting. I do. I use it, I don't know, like a lot. And I teach it to people, and I think it's a super, super exercise to have. Now, it's helpful in lots of different ways. So it's helpful. I use it actually a lot on the lead. So I have 3 dogs. So what we're going to do is we're going to slightly discount my little Lurcher, because although her down is good, her down... Right, so Mavis she might be a bit tetchy about the surface that she'll lay on. God. So the 2 Mallies, down, bosh, right? That's not a problem, don't matter. But my little Lurcher, if it's wet or if it's cold or if it's a bit gritty or something like that, she might not lay down. But if I was walking with 3 dogs and something happens, which unfortunately sometimes it does, like I've got 3 dogs, so maybe some other dogs find them provocative, I don't know, or something's running at me or whatever, it's often easier to stabilise the dog down. It makes life a lot better. It makes them potentially, they're not confrontational dogs, but it potentially makes them look less confrontational. I don't know if another dog's having a problem or if a human's having a problem, actually. So I find it helpful to stabilise them in the down. It's fairly useful as an alternative behaviour for other stuff, jumping up. I did teach the Lurcher. She was terribly jumpy as a puppy, and I did teach her a down to greet instead of a sit to greet. but I literally turned her into a trip hazard. So she would just fling herself on the ground in front of random people, and then she tripped a lady over in Pets at Home, and that was a whole thing. Well, the lady didn't fall, like I caught her, but I mean, it wasn't ideal. So we probably dialed it back a little bit then. There's motivation, and then there's, motivation, and that was not great. So but it is a good alternative for things like jumping up. I know we often teach sit to greet, but there's an argument to be had that is the down even easier for the dog to maintain. My sort of personal preference is the down, because I think to myself, all of the dog is on the floor, not just half of it. So my hope is that it's easier for him to stay there. A huge reason I use it, right, off the lead. What I have seen I usually have, like at the moment, 2 Malinois, 1 Lurcher. Previous to that, Malinois, Border Collie, Lurcher. There's always something very fast. In fact, all my dogs are pretty fast, just in general, and their recall is usually fast. So what we can see is they can easily incite chase in external dogs, and I absolutely don't want it. I certainly don't want my little Lurcher chasing because she's worried by that, and I don't want the Malinois chasing because I do not think that is an ideal scenario. So there are occasions when I'm out and about and whatever's happening, and I see something coming in, and I don't know, you can kind of think to yourself, that's coming from my dogs. If I recall them and they all come speeding back, what's going to happen? It's going to chase them, and that potentially makes a situation that at the moment isn't a situation, but it makes it into one. Actually, if I can down, hopefully the surface is right for the hound, if I can down at least 2 of them, it gives me a better opportunity to then get to them or stop that dog or assess that dog. Maybe it'll walk past. Sometimes that's happened where the dog's just gone, oh, it's pretty boring now, and it's walked past. So certainly I have found that over time to be really super useful. It also, and we shouldn't have to do this, but it demonstrates a lot of control. And so I think that when you're out and about, and again, the breed thing, it shouldn't be a thing, but it is. And I think maybe it instills an amount of confidence in other people that we do have control. I guess it does surprise me sometimes how many people comment, oh my gosh, your dogs are like really good. They're not that good, but like because they down on command. And I'm thinking, what? But it is something that I think a lot of people don't teach. So, but yeah, the big thing for me, I don't want it triggering chase behaviours in other dogs. So sometimes it's easier to down the dog and then either assess the situation and call them back one at a time, or go to them and leash them up if I need to. Now, a bit of honesty here, a bit of honesty fest. This is also really good because it's highly motivated, hopefully. That down hopefully should override pretty much anything else. Now, my Havoc, we call him Mr. Perfect, and to be fair, he's not far off it, but he is an entire male, and occasionally he does get his brain into like a little bit of a male mode with the sniffing. And so his recall generally would be good, but sometimes, oh nice Sarah, good. So sometimes Havoc is trotting off on a smell, right? And I see where this is leading, tail up, sniffing. It's never going to be to a dog and it's never going to be to a human. 100%, it's always going to be to a smell, probably of a girl dog, right? So off he's going. Now, very occasionally, when I recall him there, he might consider that he would ignore me. Now, it drives me crazy, but that's unfortunately occasionally how it might go. However, if I would down him, it will stop immediately and down. So it can have a really profound effect where the recall is being ignored. So that dog, always from being a baby actually, he's a very independent kind of dog. And I think that Ruby, that is him. Yeah, that is him. I think had I known him before I got him, I might have called him like Romeo or something, but honestly. But he would never actually go to the dog, by the way. He would smell the smells, but he would never go and find the dog. So I don't know. So I think, and that's not what this talk is about, but I think that some dogs find recall punishing almost. Not that we would have punished it, but the restriction of the freedom is just punishing to the dog. And Havoc's like that. He doesn't always appreciate his freedom being restricted by having to come back. But I can down him. He'll always down without hesitation. He will never have to be asked twice. He will always do that. And then his brain is in a different place. I call him, he's going to come straight back. If I can make my life easier in something like that, why wouldn't I? So I think there's a few examples of the down in sort of real life terminology. So I guess because we're training in 2 component parts, both of them have got a use in real life. So that's the down, and we're basically looking at social control and stabilising, aren't we? Keep still, whatever, right, for whatever reason. Now, the running fast. What I want to think about, I guess, is, so I do a lot of fitness work, we probably all do. Not me as a person, the dog, not me. But I want my dogs to be fit because we're competing and they have to jump and they have to run. And anyway, with each other, they run about like hooligans. So I want them as fit as I can get them. And so some days we do lead walking, some days we do this, some days we do that. One of our days is going to be sprint work. Again, I can't stress enough, the dogs, not me. I'm never going to sprint anywhere, right? It just not a thing. So, but we might have a sprint work day, right? So we're looking at how we could achieve that. Now, to be fair, and I've done it myself, I would do sometimes like with the ball chucker, pow, and things like that. And although yeah, absolutely, Carol, 100%. So although the ball chucky things, they have a place, and I occasionally use them, I'm not like, but what I don't like about them, right, God, right, in a really fast dog, so my hound, and I do use a ball chucker for him, for her, she's a girl, God, right, so, and I throw the ball, here's what happens, she's too fast, and she outruns the ball, and she has to anchor on the front and turn sharply and catch the ball. I do it very infrequently because she would ultimately hurt herself. There's no way that doing that more than, I don't know, I do it once a week, if that, right? Because if I would do it every day, in 2 weeks, probably the dog would be lame, right? It's no good for them. It's too much impact on their front end. And sometimes I've seen dogs almost tippling over because they're anchoring in so hard on the front end to get the ball. So yeah, you get the sprint, but you get the injury at the end of the sprint. So I don't think that that's a good plan. So how else could you get sprint work? Well, teach your dog to go around something or to something and then put it at the other end of the field that you train in. Sprint work all day long, and it's a lot safer. It's straight line sprinting with an around at the end, sprinting back, getting the reward. So I utilise this almost daily. Havoc does it now and again. I don't want the heavy sprinting in him because, hi Jolene. So I don't want too much sprinting in him because of his injury, but he does it now and again. Blitz does it every day because Blitz can do nothing but running and running and running. It's just what she wants to do. So it's better for me and her that I would put it under some format of control where I can, because it's injury prevention ultimately. Don't get me wrong, of course they run socially. I have a lurcher, so sprint work for her, you know what I mean, she just kind of does it. But I want a way of being able to manufacture it if I need to, without having to always be throwing a toy. So yeah, so I feel like that's kind of a really good use for it, I think. So I have waffled on quite a lot. I'm just checking through my notes. I think I've covered them all. So I'm going to, because I see quite a few questions, so I'm going to head down into the comments and see if I can answer a few. Yeah, so Carol, reason everybody should learn a down on a send away, it's equivalent to an emergency stop, 100%, 100%. The dog going in the down instantly on a command for safety could be everything. My dog's heading over there and it's not safe, down, bosh, done it, safe, I can go there. It's massive, absolutely. Right then, Lisa. Oh, thank you. Do I have any videos of training? Struggle with verbal instructions? Yes, I do have. I do have loads of videos actually. I don't know where I could put them. Can I put them in the event? Does anybody know this? I'm happy to post some videos. Yeah. So yeah, I will try and get. I think I can put them in there. So I will put them in there for you. What are you saying, Faye? Couldn't imagine our working collies without a down. Yeah. So that's an interesting one actually. Border collies in the down. I think it's a genetically, what's the word, like inherent behaviour, isn't it? So, and it's also, I think, the thing that you get in the herding breeds, particularly collies perhaps more than the others, is, I guess, like the outrun and the looking at you. So maybe it's a little, not easier, but they're more predisposed to it. But no, you're absolutely right. I've seen some other questions, I'm sure. Where were they? Further up. Favourite way to teach centre square? Use coasters. Right, so favourite way to teach centre square? I use coasters with bets, faded it out and overcomplicated. Part of me just says run out and then cue the down. Or yeah, I don't know, like... I'd probably do like a similar thing though. I'd probably do a lot of drive to go to like a mat, carpet tile, something like that. And then when they get in there, the reward is coming actually on that thing. And then I fade the size. You could fade the size. The other thing that you could do is once the dog has learnt the distance, because actually it's worth saying this, a lot of people would say to me, well, my dog does it close up but he won't do distance. If the dog won't do distance, the dog just hasn't got the motivation to go to the point, so you need to work harder on that, because once the dog's motivated to go there and understands what you're asking, the distance shouldn't really be a problem. The dog should be like, so what we do in the send away is I sit my dog next to me and I show her look, and she looks and she sees the thing, and then I send her. So it shouldn't matter too much. But what you could do, if you've taught a nose target or a foot target and you're wanting to fade it, I guess what you're teaching to the dog in any of these is keep running. Just keep running. That's the thing. Just like Forrest Gump it down the field until I tell you to do something else. I was certain there was more. There must be. Oh, here we go. The higher up. Oh, there's loads of people commenting. Right, how do you teach where they're going if it's an outdoor place and it's a tree, so not a distinct object like a pole? Right, so I'm back to it's the look. So I have the dog. I probably start this with the dog in the middle of me, not at the side, at heel. And I teach him, you look at the thing, let him go. Look at the thing, let him go. So my hand would say, look. Well, my mouth would say, look. My hand would point. Now, this is easy to get wrong. What you need to do to start with, go down to the dog's level and kind of look where they look. Because actually, sometimes you're like, look, and the thing's over there. So, yeah, you teach them, again, quite close up, to look at the thing and then go around. So you could, that's a transferable thing then. So if I'm out and about, we use trees, football posts, football pole things. What did I use? I use the barrier things in Morrison's car park sometimes, and if I go late at night and there's nobody around, things like that. So yeah, it's the dog understanding when this is the setup and it means that we're going to go and do this. Right, what, Sarah? Am I right in thinking with a send away, the dog needs to stop facing away, not turn to look at you and down? It depends. So I think it would be the absolute ideal in some ways. I'm only going to talk about IGP because I won't be 100% certain in the other sports. I think the absolute ideal, yes, is that the dog would run flat out and then just down. But not that many dogs do that, and it doesn't, I don't know, Carol, you might actually be able to answer the second bit of that. We don't seem to be marked down for the dog spinning. It's the looking for the motivation for the dog trying to get in the down. That's what they're looking for. So literally, I've seen, my own dog included, lots of dogs, they're running, and when you down them, they're almost grabbing into the ground, pow, to get in the down really fast. I know it was a friend of ours, Robert, he went to, I can't remember the dates, a couple of years ago, World Championships, and his dog in the send away went absolutely belting up the field, and when he did the down, he did it so fast that he tippled over and then downed, and he got full marks for it because the judge was like, how could I not? Because that dog just tried so hard to do it. So yeah, it would be, for me personally, I would always want my dog looking at me because I like that picture. But yeah, maybe it's slightly judge dependent as well. How do I get speed to a toy that is dead? My collie is chase motivated, so when sending for a toy, he doesn't go fast, if that makes sense. Yeah, it makes total sense. So I guess, again, that's some dogs. So there's two ways to come at that. One would be the actual toy. So all of mine are super ball motivated. So when they run out, if they don't pick it up straight away, they often, the hound particularly, hits it with the feet and makes it alive. See it sometimes with dumbbell training as well. Like when you've thrown the dumbbell and it's dead, a lot of dogs are like, it's boring now, it's not doing anything. But I've also seen dogs hitting it and trying to throw it up and make it alive. So I guess you could do it, there's multiple ways. So you could make an obsession over a particular toy. That's one way to come at it. So the dog's like, doesn't matter if it's dead or alive, give it. If you wanted to, and I don't know that this would be my preferred method, but you could almost shape around it. So just put it dead, let the dog go there, click and feed. As long as the food isn't on the floor, you could utilise the food in that method. And the other one maybe would be to teach a different method. So maybe teach an around and then have the dog coming back for the toy, something like that. That might work. Have we got any more questions? Yeah, so Sarah said she had that comment on a walk yesterday. I'm going to guess that's the Art Your Dog's Good comment. That's nice. I'm not going to lie, I love it. I probably should be more modest about it, but I love when my dogs do stuff and people are like, I mean, it doesn't happen all that often. This is not like, I'm not walking about like in a Disney movie, but sometimes my dogs do things on walks that are above average and people notice it, and I do love it because that ultimately is this about my dogs, isn't it? I'm not bothered what people think about me, but have I done, I'll put them in the group. Oh yeah, I put the videos in the group. Oh, more questions. Right then, Liz. Hi, Liz. Right then, cues. How many? Do you use one to preempt the exercise or does the setup give it away? Right then, I suppose in training, there's 3. There's the look, that's where you're going. There's maybe there's 4. There's the heel, if I'm doing it from heel, away and down. So 4 in training, in competition, I guess there's 2. Go and down. Well, away and down. But the setup, I think, does give it away, to be fair. We got Stevie. I used the send around to make sure my girl would get some. Yeah, there we go, you see, perfect example. I used the send around to make sure my girl would get decent exercise when I got too pregnant to walk too far. My toddler is dragging his feet. Brilliant. It is a super exercise for that. That's ace. And thank you. Does the dog need to stay facing away from you for a send away rather than turn to face the handler. As I said, I think maybe there's an element of personal preference in that. Myself, I like my dog looking at me. I guess you could argue that. So what happens in the send out is you've sent the dog out and downed it, you have to go collect it. So there would be a school of thought that would say, if my dog's not facing me, can't see what's happening. If the dog is not solid in the down and gets a bit edgy, waited a bit too long, you're walking up the field, who's that? They're looking around. A dog that's looking over its shoulder like that in the down is far more likely to get up. Myself, I like that they turn and face me. I don't know. Yeah, I think, like I said, and I guess that... yeah, Carol's commented on this. It's not marked down. Handlers prefer them to... Yeah. Yeah, so it's not marked down whether the dog is facing away or facing you, and handlers prefer them to turn as they have a more stable contact. I'm in that bracket. Yeah, Carol likes to face the way that they are running. Like I say, it's personal choice. I like to see my dog. Now, listen, the most reason for this is because she's beautiful. So when she does that fast down and is looking at me, it's the most beautiful thing I ever saw. So I'm like, oh, yes, look at my dog. I can forgive that dog a lot because she's so pretty. Right then, Jolene, how would you start with a puppy or young dog? I would start any dog pretty much the same way. And I would be just doing it nice and close up for massive amounts of reward. So you can use loads of food in the training. It's just don't put it on the floor and send the dog to it. So I would probably I shape it a lot. I don't know if I've got Blitz's baby videos. I'll try and find them. Her around for the send away, I did entirely shaped, completely. Put the pole out, she goes out, we click, etc. So I'll try and find the videos of that then as well. But yeah, I would just be getting into lots of motivation, picking a method. Now you could train more than one method. Mine probably know two. They know to run out to the toy, they know to run around the pole. So you could pick a method that you really like, or I guess you could look as well. You got to look at what's best for the dog, I suppose. And yeah, get started. That's what I would say. Dogs try and use their Yeah, Kat says, I was told to use send away when my dog was recovering from injury. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the control, it's the straight line work, isn't it? Because we don't want I think particularly in injury recovery, but even just in general, too much zipping about. And I mean, we've got to think, particularly sporting dogs, high drive sporting dogs are demented, you know, and it can only take, I don't mean demented in their, I mean in their, just the physical way that they are. I mean, you know, we're in a situation where I don't want to throw the ball too close to a wall because the lurcher would slow down and stop and pick the ball up, but the Malinois just probably plough through the wall to get the ball or whatever. So we have to mind these things. And it can only take, sometimes we throw the ball, and I've already discussed the dog running too far and having to do a sharp turn. What about as well, and I've seen this in Havoc, he's kind of miscaught the ball and then it's bounced and it's up in the air and it's over there and it's around there and he's swirling about like this and then crash landing. And the whole thing is just horrific to watch and you're like, oh, there's nothing I can do. I'm just going to close my eyes and hope that everything is okay. That's not an ideal situation. So I absolutely think that utilising this for fitness, recovery and things like that is really, really important. I'm not, of course, saying that we never throw the ball. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I do throw the ball. My dogs get the ball all the time. It's how it's delivered to them. And this is a massive thing that we do almost every day to provide, particularly, like I say, for the young dog. She just needs a lot of that kind of stuff. So we do it a lot. We don't do things like always having the pole in the same place in my training field. We move it around because they easily pattern, that kind of thing. But yeah, it is super useful, I think. So that is me coming to a close. What I would hope is, I hope I've managed to put some information over that's useful. and I hope you've enjoyed it. I would like to say thank you. It's been really interactive, and I've loved like the comments and the questions and things like that. I will get some videos and post them in the group there for people to see, and I hope that you have all enjoyed. So I am going to log off